is. For the record, the mayor is remote, and also Charles Whitaker, District 4, is remote. In the chamber, you have Grady Simpson, Ronnie Velasquez, Tim Royce. At this time, would you please lead us in invocation, Grady? Mr. Simpson?
Excuse me, Mayor, we have the Reverend Arvis Miller of the United Church of God in Christ. That is...
Okay. Wonderful. Would you call him up, please?
Yeah.
Call him up.
Yes, Reverend Arvis Miller of the United Church of God in Christ. Please come forward. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Pastor Arvis Miller from the United Church of God in Christ in Terrell, Texas, 901 South Addy. And I thank you all for allowing me to be here. I pastor in Terrell, but I live in Dallas. And Mayor, I hope your city council is better than what we have in Dallas, because they yell at each other. So that's a nice folk here, so thank you for having me. I want to read the scripture first, Mayor. It's Micah 6, and it reads as thus: He has told each of us what is good and what is the Lord requires of us. That is to act justly, to love one another, and to walk humbly before God. Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for your grace and for your mercy, for your love and for your kindness. Father, we thank you tonight for the gathering of these people. We pray, God, that you would give us clarity of mind, clarity of speech, and allow this beautiful city to act and to receive you, Lord, on one accord. For God, without you we cannot do nothing. Without you we will fail. Without you, God, our life would be drifting like a ship without a sail. Father, guide us and lead us. And lead our honorable mayor tonight and our council people. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen.
Congratulations to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And, Mayor, what I'd also like to do is, Reverend Miller, if you will come up one more time again. We do have a gift for you, a small thank you.
As a token of our appreciation, we have had cookies made for you from one of our local businesses. I want to share a little bit of background information about Pastor Miller and the United Church of God in Christ. Pastor Miller was sharing with me that over 60 years ago, his father-in-law, Pastor Mays, started the church here in Terrell. And about 10 years ago, he has now been the pastor for the church. The church and the service that the community offers was something that I recently came across because they're doing work that I feel is above and beyond. They are providing food to our community members. I believe it's the next farmers, boxes of food, of produce from the farmers. It's going to be distributed this Friday, if I'm correct, because it's in the morning, from 10 to 12 at the address.
901 South Addy.
901 South Addy. And they've been doing that for a couple of times now this past summer. They have also had their youth engaged civically and providing information to the church community members on making sure they're informed. They have also been writing letters and keeping those that maybe not be able to leave and are not able to leave their homes or are very fairly restricted. Terrell has been very involved with our elders as well. So I just wanted to mention a couple of those areas that we do believe that they've done, and they're doing a lot of good work for the community. So I want to say I really appreciate you. And this weekend, would you like to share a little bit more? That way,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In February, we had, trying to uplift our community mayor and head on with our police department. And so what we've done, we had Andrea, you know the name, Andrea Reese, Member Jones come by the church to speak to the church about financial literacy. We've had Barbara Davis from the Davis Funeral Home come speak to the church about the end of life. We've had Officer Miguel Sanchez. He came by and spoke about crime prevention. Sherry Hensel from Trinity Valley Community College came by and spoke about education. Ray Dunlap came by from Terrell Economic Development Community, came by and spoke about jobs, possibilities there. And so we're just trying to do our best, not just to provide food, mayor, but to try to build up the community so everybody can contribute and become good citizens and give back. And that's it. Thank you, Terrell.
Once again, we thank you. We always look forward to the partnerships that we have in the community. I don't think one person can do it alone. It takes the whole community to keep us moving forward and make a difference. So we thank you and the church family.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for that, Mayor Ronnie. At this time, the mayor would like to turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem Grady Simpson to continue the meeting from the council chambers. So Grady, it's yours.
Thanks, Mayor. At this time, we could remove our mask if we are 6 feet away. Oh, I can breathe. All right, now at this point, we'll move on to item 4, adoption of the minutes. And that's to discuss and consider minutes from special city council meeting and workshop on September 1st, 2020. The city council meeting on September 1st, 2020, and the special call city council meeting on September 8th, 2020. Are there any comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve the special city council meeting and workshop minutes from September the 1st and the city council meeting on September from September the 8th.
All right, Councilman Ronnie Velasquez with the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Tim Rush with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, the next section is item 5, Marion Council Community Recognition Events, always one of my favorites. Have you wanted to go? Okay. Well, I'll go to my special recognitions of the Brookshire's grocery store here in Terrell, Texas. What I like to do, starting off, because I do want to have a group picture. We'll do that without masks on, all right? I'm not getting close to anybody else. Yeah, it's not good to see that news. But right now, what I like to do, where I stand, I like to read the proclamation, present the proclamation to Brookshire. But I do want to say a few things about Brookshire. So I've watched them a while. They've been in town a long time. And all through the pandemic and even before then, I remember when their competitor came into town and how they just rose to the occasion. They just got better. And they really are the blueprint of what our businesses need to do, because competition makes us all better. And I know a lot of times we try to fare away from competition, so we don't want this person in our town, and we want this store in our town. But let me tell you, I know from being a competitive athlete that competition just makes us all better on every level. And I've seen Brookshire's stand up to it. I mean, you walk in their store now, I have an experience when I stroll through Brookshire's. Nice floors, merchandise very well, customer service is just amazing. And I just want to take this moment to read the proclamation and recognize Brookshires Grocery Store. Whereas Brookshires has served East Texas community since 1928, and whereas company founder Wood T. Brookshire opened a small grocery store on the Courthouse Square in downtown Tyler, Texas, and whereas W.T. Brookshire believed it was his God-given calling to serve his community through the grocery store industry, and whereas he has laid a foundation of core values focused on incredible customer service, tenacity, and competitive grit, and whereas Brookshire's grocery company is still family-owned, with members of third and fourth generations leading the company, and whereas throughout their 92-year history, BGC has remained deeply committed to serving their customers and community, and whereas today, the company has grown to include more than 180 stores, operating under the brands of Brookshire's Super One Foods, Supermarket, and Fresh by Brookshire's, and whereas Brookshire's has been in the operation in the Terrell community since 1963. That was the year before I was born, guys. So it's been there since I was a baby. And whereas customers who enter their stores can expect to find a great variety of quality fresh products and friendly employee partners who embody their core values and are happy to help. And whereas since September 2019, the Terrell team has been led by the store director, Anthony Gentry, who has served in several roles across stores in East Texas during his 14 years with BGC. Now therefore, I, Grady Simpson, acting on behalf of Mayor Rick Kaufman, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor Pro Tem, and on behalf of the city of Terrell, Texas, do hereby proclaim September 15, 2020 as Brookshires Appreciation Day in the city of Terrell, and encourage all citizens in the city of Terrell to show Mr. Gentry and his staff gratitude for their decades of community support and service to their patrons. All right. Let me get my mask on. We'll come down to the front, and I'd like to send a gift and give the proclamation. Bring the whole team up.
Mayor Pro Tem, I couldn't have read it any better.
Well, Bill, we got to get our hands on some of these cookies, man. Like you want to see.
Yeah, you almost did.
Just can't see us now. Thank you.
Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, if it's okay, I'd like to also invite another little recognition. We have some folks here in the fire department who have proven their worth and moved into a new position, a new classification that we have at the city of Terrell. Shane LaCroix, you're our fire chief. Would you like to come up and give us a little explanation of our fun tonight?
I'd just like to say Shane LaCroix was our linebacker football team. One day in practice, he knocked my helmet clean off. And the linebackers coach Willie Day at the time, just laughed at me. And I was fine, but you're still my buddy.
Mayor and Council, I come before you tonight to recognize three outstanding individuals that rose to the challenge. As you recall, we created a new rank in the fire department, that of battalion chief, which will serve as kind of the stepping stone between administration and operation. So I'd like to recognize these individuals. I'll start by their shifts. So we'll start with A shift. So we have Eric James. Eric has 20 years of service with Terrell Fire Department. Brad Henderson. Brad has 22 years of service in a battalion of B shift. And Lane Hargrave has 18 years, and he's our battalion chief for C shift. So these individuals will help me lead the department as we move forward. And they're part of that structure that we discussed many times that we needed in the fire department so that we can grow as the city grows and still be able to provide the services that we're required to provide.
Y'all stay up here. I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem to come down and get a photo with you guys. I just want to pitch in and say it's an honor to work with guys who are dedicated. And I want you to know that y'all are kind of the representative of everybody who works for the fire department, and we know you guys are hard at work at very odd hours sometimes, and I've seen you guys out in very dangerous positions. People don't think that, hey, when there's a traffic accident on Interstate 20, a lot of times the very first people there are one of our fire department folks, and that's a very dangerous thing to be doing, you know, not to mention everything else y'all do, not to mention the fact that y'all are kind of the tip of the spear with COVID-19 response. So this isn't really just a thank you for you three guys. We appreciate y'all, but it's also a thank you for the whole fire department, because the team of the fire department has really done a wonderful job throughout the entire COVID-19 time. When Shane McCoy came forward and said, hey, he wants to change his leadership structure, we said, you know what, that's a great idea. Let's get that done, and it's been a long time coming. So thank you, Shane. Thank you, guys. And again, I just want to say thank you for you guys as a team here.
As y'all take your picture, I also want to say thank you for your hard work with the department. Make us all proud and doing a great job.
Okay, now, we'll move forward to item 6, and we want to have some, hear some remarks from visitors, or any visitors with remarks.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think we've got at least one signed up ahead of time. If you'll come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Bill White, 14609, County Road 318. My brother and I, Bob White, bought this land that sits on Francis and 318 in 1996. My brother built his house out there in 98, and my wife and I built our house out there in 99. Been living here 21 years and found Terrell to be a very nice, comfortable place to live. We've always lived in big cities, basically, and we found that to be great. We raised cattle out there. I'm here on behalf of that development to talk a little bit about it. We were fortunate to be able to sit in on the beginning of the planning session between the city and Ted and Zia. And I'm very impressed with the city and the way they looked to work out a development that the city would be proud of. And I'm going to say the same thing for Ted and Zia. They also worked hard. It's been going on for almost a year, or a little over a year. And the development itself, I love what they're doing. We plan on, Bob and I, and my wife, are planning on staying and become a part of that development. That's how much we like it. Until our health reaches the point we can't do it. By the way, I turned 80 yesterday, so I'm getting there. But what I like about the development is there's 4 opportunities for people to buy in, depending on the finances. There's the townhomes. It's for beginning people to buy their first house, and it's for the older people like us that want to downsize. And then you have the garden homes. I've been to the garden home over in Forney 3 or 4 times. It's the neatest, best looking type development that I've seen. It's 2-story, rear entry garage, HOA, been over there, like I said, all through this last year, 3 or 4 times, just to see if things were taken care of. And every time I've walked away thinking, it's beautiful. That's going to be the bulk of the houses. And then he moved away from that, back towards the north, and you have 3/4 acre lots called executive lots. I haven't seen any of the houses, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that 3/4 acre lots will match up with just about anybody that builds homes. And then you get to our side where we live, across the lake, or on the lake actually, and across the lake, they come up with 1.5 acre lots. That's exactly what Bob and I've got, 1.5 acre. And like I said, we're going to be a part of that. Those lots, some will face the lake on both sides. Now, you take that in consideration, 4 different ways you can get in. The other part about that is they're building a swimming pool, they're building a regulation soccer field, they're building a playground for youngsters, and they're developing a walking trail or jogging trail will be fantastic. So it's a community that will be able to take care of the people that live there. And we're so excited about it. So, and I can promise you this, if we didn't think it was any good, I wouldn't be as excited as I am right now. It's going to be fantastic. So I hope that you see fit to support this for us. Okay?
That's wonderful. You brought the fresh air. Thanks for your coming. Well,
Thank you, sir.
now moving forward to item 7 here, boards and commissions. And we want to discuss, is this 7.1?
7.1.
We want to discuss and consider the planning and zoning commission reappointment, and also discuss and consider airport board appointments, item 7.2 and item 7.3. Discuss and consider park board reappointment. Mr. Simmons.
So, Mayor and Council, I'm going to ask Mr. Fender to start us off with the P&Z reappointment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Excuse me, as you know, we brought forth before a couple of appointments that we needed in the past. The last meeting we had, Ms. Wimberly, her term is up in August. She would be serving a second term, and she has shown interest in serving that term, and if the council so chooses. And there in your package, you'll see the email that was sent to her.
What's your name again?
Carolyn Wimberly, Miss Wimberly. Any questions?
Charles, when looking at the other reappointment, the park board reappointment, there was a recommendation from the chair of the park board there. Do we have something similar from the P&Z board for the P&Z reappointment request?
No, ma'am, we do not. We do not have a recommendation from the chair. We've not had recommendations in the past. Not
Right.
to say that we don't need to or what, but we do not have a recommendation.
And Mayor, I have, I have not reached out to Danny Stevens, the chair of the P&Z board. It would be, would it be a good idea to, start receiving those recommendations from the planning and zoning, from all our boards and commissions, to see, what feedback we get from them. Maybe there's something, that maybe they would like to share with us with all the, COVID-19 restrictions that have occurred as well. Maybe there's something that they want us to let us know, and it would be, I think it would be good to hear from our chairs as well.
I think it's a great idea to vet your potential applicants and definitely your chair and see what they think. I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it's a good idea.
So let me take this opportunity real quick and address the council. Each one of us have been charged with the responsibility of a particular board. Some of you have 2, some of you have 3. again, to take this chance to speak to you and ask if you reach out to your chair of that board and get some feedback as to which members are contributing, which ones are showing up, and if there's something that the council can do to ensure that that chair has the best board moving forward that he can have, or she can have. I think that's a great thing for all of us to do and reach out. I know when I was looking at the board appointments for the airport board, I reached out to the airport chair, and then I also contacted the candidates myself and made sure that they were still interested and able to fulfill their duties on the board. So I would ask for you to, if you're responsible for one of the boards, to reach out to the chairman, just let them know who you are and what you want and what you expect moving forward. I think that's a great thing. Communication is important moving forward.
And Mayor, I'd really also very much appreciate, our city directors and, specifically talking about planning and zoning, if there are certain attributes about certain applicants or what we're missing on the boards, specifically for planning and zoning, that may be, that may help it be the best board that it could be based on those individuals that we're looking to appoint moving forward on the board. So I'd greatly would appreciate your input as well, Charles.
I would love to. I don't have a problem with that. If my boss is okay with that, I'll be glad to do that.
We love giving y'all input and feedback. A lot of times the feedback you can get from staff is more along the lines of attendance, effort, what they're pouring into from their time commitment into the board. It's easy for staff to see that. I think the point that council needs to know quite often is the extent to which your philosophy and the applicant's philosophy match up. And I think that's where you go back to, it's just very important for you guys to be communicating directly with your potential board appointments because the point of view of staff is going to be more on workload issues, and the point of view of council is going to be most appropriately on policy and philosophy and that sort of thing. So it takes all of us to kind of go through the process, and we'll all take our own roles in it.
Okay.
Right, then, well, I'd like to make a motion to table this item for planning and zoning and obtain those recommendations and feedback from both our chair and Mr. Fenner.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion carries.
I believe we took a vote.
Oh, and all in favor? Sorry, all in favor, say.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion.
Aye.
Thank you, Greg.
Moving forward to
7.2.
7.2, discuss and consider airport board appointment. And I believe this is Mr. Simmons.
So, Mayor and Council, y'all have had opportunity a few different times to take a look at your airport board appointments. We do have 2 vacancies at this time. I think there's 4 different applicants who have come forward. This is an item that falls under the heading of the mayor in terms of the council member assignments, and I'll ask the mayor to pick it up from there.
Yeah, so council, I have reached out to a couple of applicants. As you all know, have pushed for having pilots and individuals who have planes at our hangar in Terrell. I think that's important moving forward with our airport board. We do have 2 candidates that fit both of those criteria. The first one would be Andrew Jones. The second one is Larry Gerganis, who have applied, and I've spoken with both of them, and they're both interested, anxious, and excited to be on the board, or to be considered for appointment to the board, and I would ask that the council go ahead and appoint those 2. Again, that'd be Andrew, or he goes by Andy Jones, and then Larry Gerganis.
Okay, are there any comments regarding those 2 candidates? Okay, can we get a motion on Andrew Jones and Larry McGinnis?
I believe the mayor can make that motion if he wishes to.
Mayor, would you like to make the motion?
Yeah, I move that we appoint Andrew Jones and Larry Reganis to the airport board.
Okay, Mayor Riccomoni makes the motion, or can we, are there any comments, or can we get a second?
I second.
Okay, Councilwoman Mary Mirani Velazquez, second, and motion carried.
We did not vote.
I mean, all in favor, all in favor, excuse me.
Aye.
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 Mayor, I'm kind of going back to my football days, we're jumping outside.
I'll throw a flag on you.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, we have a good referee here out in the audience.
Okay, moving forward with 7.3, discuss and consider park board reappointment, Mr. Sims.
Okay, so Mayor and Council, this is a park board reappointment. On the park board reappointment side, you have Mr. Pegram. He, of course, is well-known in the community as he also serves on our school board. His term ended here recently, and he has requested that he be allowed to stay on the board of the park board and get reappointed. And so that particular item, looking for my little cheat sheet here, this falls under Mr. Royce's authority.
It does. So I would just like to say, hey, this is a good combination, a good partnership, because Mr. Pegram is on the school board, and if he wants to continue to serve on the Parks Board, then I think that's a great union to carry forward. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem, whenever you want, you can call for that motion, and I'll motion.
All right, well, may I get a motion on the reappointment of Mr. Reggie Peter?
Deputy, or Mayor Pro Tem, I make the motion that we reappoint Mr. Reggie Pegram to the Parks Board.
All right, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, Tim Royce, made the motion, can I get a second?
Mayor, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the public hearing. We're going to item 8.1, and Secretary Don, would you please read this into the record?
Yes. Conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding ordinance number 2842, an ordinance of the City of Terrell, Texas, amending Appendix 1, Fee Schedule, Section 27, Water Service Rates and Charges, paragraphs 1 through 4, and Section 28, Sewer Service Rates and Charges, paragraph 1 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Terrell, Texas, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, thanks, Secretary. Now let's have Mr. Assistant City Engineer Mike McKeska to come forward.
No,
Is he here?
it's Steve. No, he's
Okay, well, I see McKeska here. Okay, Steve. All right, this is Steve Rogers.
Good evening. I'm here.
You always here.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get caught up with you here.
So, Mayor and Council, while he's getting to the right place, this is going to be ordinance 2842. It's going to appear on agenda item page 25, providing the update on our water and sewer rates.
Steve, you may be having the same problem I am. Are you having trouble downloading or pulling it up?
A little bit, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I have to.
Let me give a little overview here while Steve fixes a computer problem. So as we've been workshopping over the course of the summer, we identified that in order to make ends meet, so to speak, in our water and sewer utility fund, we needed to address two separate issues. One, on the water side of things, there was a recommendation that came forward from our rate evaluation that we did need to increase our water rate by 2% and our sewer rate by 6%. Mayor and council directed staff to beat those numbers up a little bit. I think there was a concern that if we were to move forward with a wastewater rate increase of 6%, that might be a very difficult thing for some of our customers. Staff was more than happy to go work on that a little bit more. As you know, we are doing quite a bit of repairs and updates to the Kings Creek wastewater treatment plant, and it is necessary to go up some in that respect. However, what we did come up with, and which you guys have workshopped previous to tonight, is to do a 2% increase on water effective in the October timeframe, and then to do a 4%, not a 6, but a 4% increase on the sewer side, but to delay that increase until the March timeframe. So as you dig into the ordinance, I apologize for having trouble getting it loaded up, but if you dig into the ordinance 2842 there, that's what you'll find, a 2% increase in water and a 4% on sewer.
And I will add on top of Mr. Sims's comments, we are going up on our wholesale rate. If you'll remember, about 30% of our water is used by our 6 wholesale customers. We are going up from $5.90 to $5.96 per 1,000 gallons on our wholesale rate. And as Mr. Sims said, we're going to delay the sewer increase until March 1st of 4%, and the 2% will be effective October 1st for water. And most of that is used for continuing to do some pay-as-you-go projects, as well as servicing the debt for our Water Development Board borrows that we're doing on both water and wastewater. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I guess I should just jump in and say, hey, thanks to engineering and city administration for beating up the numbers, keeping that rate as low as possible, and then also with the pushback of the increase on the sewer, I think it helps citizens across the board. So thank you for beating up those numbers.
Any more questions?
Mr. Simpson, when you're ready, this is a discuss and consider.
Public hearing.
Yeah,
This is a discuss and consider. Yeah, we're not making.
just for clarity's sake for everybody, we're on 8.1, which is the conduct a public hearing part. So Mayor Pro Tem, in just a moment, will gavel in the start of a public hearing. We'll see if anybody has comments. After he gavels us out of public hearing, we'll move on to 8.2, which will be council's opportunity to vote on the same item.
Now, this time, we're going to move into our public hearing. I'm moving forward to item 8.2. And Secretary Don Stroud.
I'm sorry, did you close the public hearing?
You did.
You open and close it?
No, you didn't.
Okay, want to open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak in the public hearing? Okay, with that, when no one's wanting to speak in the public hearing, we'll close the public hearing. And we move to item 8.2. And Secretary Don Snow, could you please,
Yes.
could you read this into record?
Yes. 8.2, discuss and consider ordinance number 2842 on first reading, an ordinance of the City of Terrell, Texas, amending Appendix 1, Fee Schedule, Section 27, Water Service Rates and Charges, paragraphs 1 through 4, and Section 28, Sewer Service Rates and Charges, paragraph 1 of the revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Terrell, Texas, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And this is ordinance number 2842.
All right, is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, can we get a motion?
I Mr. Simpson, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2842 as presented.
All right?
Mayor, I second. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, you can. Okay, all right, motion carries. Oh, Don, could you please get a vote on the council?
Yes. District 2, Grady Simpson, how do you vote?
Yay?
District 3, Mayrani Velazquez, how do you vote?
Yay.
District 4, Charles Whitaker, how do you vote?
Yay.
District 5, Tim Royce, how do you vote?
Yay.
And Mayor Rick Carmona, how do you vote?
Yay.
All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to the next item. Item 8.3, and Secretary Don, could you please read this into record?
Yes, sir. Item 8.3, conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding ordinance number 2843, an ordinance of the City of Terrell, Texas, amending Chapter 12, Utilities, Section 17, Municipal Stormwater Utility System of the City of Terrell Code of Ordinances, amending Section 17-9, Municipal Stormwater Utility System Fee Schedule, establishing a municipal stormwater utility system fee, exemptions and credits, providing for repealing, savings, and severability clauses, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the publication of the caption hereof.
Okay, we open the public hearing for what was just read. Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem and council, the recommendation in this ordinance and the budget is to increase the stormwater fee from $5.65 per ERU or residential unit to $6.65. So $1 per month increase is what is being recommended. The Stormwater Fund has been in place since 2011. It follows a very rigorous set of rules that were established in Chapter 552 of the Local Government Code, which govern what and how you can spend these funds. We've done a lot of projects over the last 9 years that have helped reduce a lot of maintenance for those crews and been able to help reduce mosquitoes and improve health and safety of all of our residents. This fee, this $1 increase, again, as follows. We just completed a very robust master planning effort to update our master plan for the first time in 30 years, our drainage master plan, and now we have a roadmap going forward, and we need to increase the stormwater fee about 100 times what it is right now to catch up, but we're way behind. So, one of the recommendations coming from our master planning effort was a detailed look at rates of those around us, and we feel like we're very competitive and on the low end of stormwater fees for those that have this in the region of similar sized communities. This is used for maintenance efforts and for projects is what this money will be used for. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mayor Pro Tem, unless Mr. Sims wants to add to my comments. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Okay. Have no questions.
Anybody else?
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have any questions. But I have done a thorough review of the master drainage plan, and certainly while, I don't think our community members look forward to any raises in fees. However, this $1 raise will help alleviate drainage maintenance for areas that don't have closed drainage, and then also improvements of drainage areas to help with the flooding. So it will provide, the funding will be used to provide and alleviate flooding issues. So I'd appreciate staff's work and helping identify the areas that will be working on forward, and just thank you again for your work.
All right. Is there anybody for or against? Okay, public hearing is closed. Now, we can have Ms. Dunn to read it to the audience.
Yes. Item 8.4, discuss and consider ordinance number 2843 on first reading. An ordinance of the City of Terrell, Texas, amending Chapter 12 Utilities, Section 17 Municipal Stormwater Utility System of the City of Terrell Code of Ordinances, amending Section 17-9 Municipal Stormwater Utility System Fee Schedule, establishing a municipal stormwater utility system fee, exemptions and credits, providing for repealing, savings, and severability clauses, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the publication of the caption hereof. And this is ordinance 2843.
Okay, is there any further discussions? Okay, may we get a motion for ordinance number 2843?
Mr. Simpson, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2843 as presented.
Okay, can we get a second?
Mayor, I second.
Okay, we have a second from Councilwoman Rand Velasquez. And with that, we can say this motion is moved. And Secretary Dunn, could you please poll the council?
Yes. District 2, Grady Simpson, how do you vote?
Yay?
District 3, Mayrani Velasquez, how do you vote?
Yay.
District 4, Charles Whitaker, how do you vote?
Yay.
District 5, Tim Royce, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mayor Rick Carmona, how do you vote?
Yay.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item 8.5. We're going to have Director Charles Skinner, but before that, can we have Secretary Von Chow read this into record?
Yes, sir. Conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding PD 20-04, zone change from agriculture to planned development agriculture to allow residential senior living on 12.664 acres out of the J.C. Hale Survey, abstract number 202, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. The property is located on the southeast corner of South Rockwall Avenue and Windsor Avenue. The property is currently zoned agriculture.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Before you do have a zone change of planned development for 12 acres, just located off of South Rockwall Extension and on the Windsor Avenue area, and that extension there too. As you know, the senior terrace facility is there in that area over there, and they have 2 phases there, and essentially this would be their 3rd phase. There are some new design specifics for their area, for this particular setup, this phase, with the minimum unit 700 square feet, air-conditioned floor area, and a maximum density of 12 units per acre, about approximately 148 units on the plan. The thoroughfare plan does show an extension of Rockwall Avenue down the southern portion of that where Windsor and Rockwall connect. As you know, Windsor will be going and be extended to the east, to the west too. And the council has approved 2 other subdivisions, residential subdivisions in that area, Rose Hill and PD, and then the Woodlands, just the most recent. And so you'll have 4, you'll have an intersection there, and you'll have 4 new developments if this goes through here. The actual zoning of the property is ag right now, and what we're doing is we're keeping that underlying zoning, and we're going to just keep it ag, and then we're going to run this planned development overlay on top of that ag zoning and say the specific use for this property is going to be a senior living facility, and it'll have to conform to the actual site condition, the site plan, and the development standards and conditions of the ordinance that if they're approved. So after this, again, this is just the entitlement phase. That means they're just getting zoning on this 12 acres. That's all this is about. This is not about it the construction and the engineering of a drainage facility or construction of the roads or any of that. They're just actually applying for the entitlement on top of that property. And so the next steps after that would be to, if they did get approved, would be to submit a construction plat, and that would start the process through the Planning and Zoning Commission, where they submit the construction plat with the construction civil plans, with engineering for the road, public improvements, any drainage easement, drainage stuff that they have to have and so forth. And have public improvement detail and construction at that point. You will see that as a council too. And then they will go through the final plat once all those improvements are done and everything is taken care of, if approved. But again, what you're looking at today is just a zoning change from agricultural to PD Ag to allow a senior living facility. And I can answer any questions. The Planning and Zoning Commission did vote on this, pass it 6-1. And I believe the applicant is here to make us presentation for you too.
Mayor and Council, before we step there, I also want to just kind of reorient on what land area we're talking about here, because this is a little bit difficult to imagine. So if you're driving down Rockwall southbound and you get to the intersection of Windsor and Rockwall, you find yourself really at a dead end. And I'll tell you, one of the best things going right now is we've got several different developers all right around the same location who are really going to make that intersection something special and actually get the thing constructed as a four-way roadway, which is what it really needs to be. So if you imagine that intersection now and you're driving southbound on Rockwall, then you know on your left side, the east side, is the existing senior living facility. On your right side is a vacant piece of land. So that's the northwest corner of Rockwall and Windsor. That's a piece of land entitled to be single-family residential. So some of you guys will recognize that as the Rose Hill Estates project. Then if you think about going southbound, where future Rockwall will go south past Windsor, that's where the Woodlands project is, over on the southwest corner of that intersection. So this is the southeast corner of that intersection, and that would be senior living. So it's almost like we're using Rockwall here as a dividing line between residential on one side and senior living on the other side. And so we think that's a good partnership, that's a good break in how to identify what's where down in that part of the world. And the combination of all three of those developments going on at the same time allows us to actually really get that intersection built. It's been a long time that we've functioned as a city without having a connection between Rockwall and Rose Hill. And getting Windsor built from Rockwall over to Rose Hill has been a major component of some of our infrastructure planning for quite some time. I think it'll really help that portion of our city have better mobility, better access. It's better for our fire department to actually have that improvement in place. So lots of reasons to be happy about that infrastructure. Of course, as Charles said, this is the entitlement side, so this is the may we have permission for this land use step, but it does kind of give us a vision forward to how some very important infrastructure can get constructed as well. So with that, maybe I let, go ahead, Charles.
I think too, and remember, when we do these PDs, we have conditions and development standards, and that's in the ordinance that you'll approve next. We do recommend those conditions be placed in that PD ordinance overlay for that too, so in this zone change.
So Mayor, if you will open the public hearing, I think our first speaker will be the applicant.
Open up a public hearing, and the first speaker can come forward.
Good evening, everyone. How are y'all? My name's Alicia Bryant. I am the president of Lafferty Builders Incorporated. A little bit about Lafferty Builders Incorporated. It was established in 1990, and it was an Arizona nonprofit, and then we started doing business in Texas as well, and that's when we built phase 1 in the year 2000. So we've been around Terrell for 20 years, and we have no future plans of selling Terrell Senior Terraces. We're going to stay, we're invested in the community. Our staff all lives within Kaufman County. I think we have one in Van Zant. So we're very invested into Terrell, Texas. Lafferty Builders, we're a good neighbor. We're an asset to Terrell and Kaufman County. We just recently, almost 2 years ago, moved our corporate office from Arizona here. We still have a satellite office there. We have a lot of extra things coming to Kaufman County through Lafferty Builders that we're excited about. We build and maintain quality senior living, Phase 1 and 2, and Phase 3 has always been in the books. It's always been in the plans from day one. We've had several meetings with Mike over the years about a Phase 3, but now it's coming to fruition. So we're excited about that. As local owners who live here, we take pride in contributing to our Terrell community. Our long waiting list says that a senior living facility is needed in Terrell, Texas. I will tell you that 50% of our tenants out there come from other states. California, Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida. That's just to name a few off the top of my head. So we have right now, I think we're sitting right at about 279 seniors on our wait list. So it's needed, and there's like 100,000 baby boomers retiring every day in the nation. So the senior community, it's definitely needed. We take pride in our property, we maintain it well. We have one gentleman who does full-time landscaping for us just to make sure that everything stays up to par. As you know, with 252 bosses, we have to keep everything maintained. Yeah. So, and we offer, I feel like, in my opinion, the nicest senior living built to date for North Texas's most experienced generation. We are age restricted. We're 60 and older. Phase 3 will be the same. We're going to go through HUD financing. I can't remember what the loan is called, but it's a 221 D4, I think, or D3. But it is also 60 and older. Phase 3 will be market rate. There will be no income restrictions for that one. They'll be all market rate. They'll have the patios. We're going to go very similar off of Phase 1 and Phase 2. Our seniors don't drive a lot, so some of the things we'll do is like our parking is like 1.5 per apartment, which is more than sufficient for senior living. They want a community, they want a patio, they want grass, they don't like the high rise. So our buildings are fourplex buildings, and it gives them that feel. They're already having to downsize, they're having to leave their homes. So when they come live with us, one thing that attracts them are our fourplex buildings. Hence, about 11.5 to 12 units per acre is what it takes. Our seniors that we accommodate are attracted to our private porches, walking trails, libraries, community lunches, swimming areas, landscaping. We go above and beyond for our tenants, social work, whatever they need. We help them with everything. I'm very resourceful. So we help them with anything that they need. One of the things we have coming with Lafferty Builders is called TBRA funds, because we're a 501c3. It's tenant-based rental assistance. So seniors live on very little money. I managed a property for 11 years before I stepped into this position, so I know the finances of all of my seniors out there. And so they make it, some of them on $800 and $900 a month, and they don't have the Section 8 resources. The wait list is closed, which has been for about 5 or 6 years now, I think, until it's been a while. So these TBRA funds are temporary until the seniors can get some help. So we're excited about that. It's going to bring more revenue because now they have more money to spend in the city at Marshall's and Ross and everything that's over there. So they are excited about that. Let's see. On our Phase 3, we're going to have a pool, a recreation center. It will be one big open building with, I think, an office, little maintenance shop for storage, restrooms, and the rest will be party because they all like to have a lot of parties. So we're going to leave it open so that all of our phases can all join in together. The one bedrooms are going to rent at $9.95 a month, and the 2 bedrooms are $11.95 a month. That is extremely affordable for Kaufman County seniors. Beats going into Rockwell, we're going to pay about the $1,200 for a 1 bedroom. So for those ones that don't qualify for our affordable housing, now they're not having to break the bank to be able to have it.
What we say the minimum age, what was that?
60.
The mayor and I said.
It's 60. Oh, okay, well, you better get on the wait list now, I'm going to tell you that.
Y'all can share a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, we have people call younger, and we tell them, get on the wait list now, because, I mean, our wait list goes out to 10 years, so it's pretty, we need it to get this wait list down. We are going to add 148 individual units. More landscaping and community areas for senior social connectivity, because they love to connect. This pandemic it's not good for them, I will tell you that. We have shut all of our activities down trying to do our part, but they still walk outside, and they're grown adults. We can't stop what they do outside, but they can't wait for this to be over. They're like, when do you think, January 1st or what? Because Stephanie is with me today. She does our activities and pretty much social work out there. But, I mean, that building is on and popping, like almost 24/7. They have keys. They can go in and use the laundry building or whatever they want to do after hours. We don't shut it down. So we're real big about keeping them connected because their children work or whatever. So we're real big about that, and we want to see that continue with more homes that are needed. I know some of the deviations from the current PD that you guys have are 20-foot setback from rock wall instead of 25, and that has something to do with the road is the reason we're requesting that, and it will take several buildings away from us if we do that. Parking spaces, 1.5 space per dwelling unit. As Charles mentioned, the one-bedroom or 701 square foot of air conditioning floor area. The two-bedroom, two baths, I believe they're like 994 or 97 square feet. The mailboxes will be grouped together and located internal at the site. So up at the clubhouse, that will be where their mailboxes are. We like to keep it covered so that they don't get wet, slip and slide everywhere. So the maximum density that we're asking for will be 12 units per acre. That's to do our fourplex buildings, so that we don't have to make them even smaller. Landscaping, we're going to go above and beyond probably what the city code is. I have a picture of a willow tree here, but it's really just lots of trees and shades for when they walk their dogs and different things like that. So we do desire to create an inviting, peaceful neighborhood enhanced with the trees and the landscaping throughout. Exterior construction, I know we'll get into that later, but I know we intend to make it flow with phases 1 and 2. We'll stay with code or whatever, but we're going to try to duplicate phase 1, which is our most sought after units. They're the largest, the most spacious, every square inch is used. They're very good plans. So we're going to try to stay real similar with phase 1 and phase 2. If y'all haven't been out there, I encourage you to go visit. They would love to give tours if you guys need any. Some of the interior upgrades are going to be stainless steel appliances opposed to white that we have now. We're going to do granite countertops, stainless steel sinks. The flooring is still up in the air, but it will be within code. Even the carpet and the flooring we use now over at phase 1 and 2 is way above apartment industry standards. We take care of our tenants because when they come, they stay for years. I mean, we have one that just moved that was the original tenant from phase 1, and she just moved last month. So when they come, they stay as long as they possibly can. We intend to do the same with phase 3. So in closing, Terrell America is booming. Terrell Crossing, the new housing developments, the economic growth. We just want to be a part of providing quality senior living for an amazing margin of people. These baby boomers deserve the finest, and together with your help in moving forward, Terrell Senior Terraces and Life Rebuilders Incorporated will continue to make it a reality for Terrell. Any questions?
Any questions at this time?
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have any questions. I will say that this planned development is in District 3, the district I represent. I've had an opportunity to sit down with Alicia and review the project. I consider myself pretty active in the Terrell Senior Terraces community. COVID-19 is kind of holding some of the activities back. But I've talked to our community members that live in the existing phase 1 and phase 2 and have toured out there as well, and mostly hear good things, specifically on the size of the living space for those individuals, and really they do spend a lot of time there from what I gather, because it's like their own community, right?
It is.
As Alicia mentioned, the product is very similar to the existing product. Here in our very own community, I do hope that they can take, our current Terrell residents can take advantage of planned developments such as this one. We are asked, I'm asked as a council member quite often about, additional housing for seniors. So I do realize it's a need, and I do realize that we have a generation that is beginning to retire and looking for opportunities like this. So at this specific time, I do not have any questions.
Okay, is there anyone else who wants to speak?
I did have a question. Do Terrell residents get any preference on the list as opposed to outside of Terrell or outside of Kaufman residents?
It's first come, first served.
So are we in a public hearing, or are we in the discussion considered?
We're in the public hearing phase now. We were just discussing that up here at the dais.
Okay, yeah, just point of order, during the public hearing, that's just to receive comments and not until we can get down to 8.6, please, thank you.
Okay. All right, public hearing is closed. Moving forward to item 8.6. And Secretary Don Child, could you please read this into record?
Yes. Discuss and consider ordinance number 2849, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing for the creation of a plan development, PD 20-04, by changing the zoning on certain real property, more particularly described as 12.664 acres of land out of the John C. Hale Survey, A202, Kaufman County, Texas, and located on the southeast corner of Rockwall Avenue at its intersection with Windsor Avenue from agricultural to planned development agriculture, under the provisions of Section 31A, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, as shown on the map attached hereto as Exhibit A, and made part hereof for all purposes under the conditions and regulations specified in Exhibit B attached hereto, and made a part hereof for all purposes, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, Council, as I stated before, you have the ordinance that obviously you'd be voting on, and that ordinance does have the exhibits in there, the exhibit that are the development standards and actual site area plan. We do recommend that the approval of the ordinance with those conditions.
All right, are there any further discussions at this time?
Yeah, can I get clarification from legal, either Mary Gill or Greg, about in the ordinance where it says, whereas on the 27th day, we don't have to have the record of vote. It was 6-1, we can just be generic and say it's passed?
That's correct, Mayor. Just
Okay,
like we've already
Just-
planned on doing it that way.
Okay, no, double check, I'm making sure.
No problem.
Okay, with that said, can we get a motion on ordinance 2849?
Mr. Simpson, I make a motion on ordinance 2849.
Okay, motion by Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Tim Morris, and can we get a second?
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
Wait, point of order, was that to approve?
My understanding is to approve.
Well,
To
yes,
approve.
it's a motion, yes, it's a motion to approve.
To approve.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, Councilwoman Mary Marnie Velasquez, second. And now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving on forward, we're coming into item 9, coming into new business, and that's discuss and consider resolution 990. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell authorizing the development agreement with North Francis 240 LLC for the North Francis Development Partnership. Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, this is Resolution 990. Resolution 990 is the culmination of quite a bit of work. I want to thank Mr. White, both the White brothers, for being here tonight. They gave you comments earlier during your open session or open comment session on Resolution 990. It's good to hear in a project like this from a homeowner who, quite often what you see is you see somebody sell vacant land and they walk away, and they don't stay vested in the community they're leaving behind. In this case, you've got folks who are wanting to keep living in the new development, and I think that's a pretty enjoyable thing to see. We've talked about this project a number of times, and I think that it's important to remind ourselves about where we stand here. Your Planning and Zoning Board recommended this for your approval earlier this summer. Council approved it earlier this summer as a zoning change. It came forward even before that with a voluntary petition for annexation from the White brothers, and we approved that as well. So you've had two steps in a multi-step process happen so far, and we've got a couple of steps ahead of us. This Resolution 990 is the answer to the question of, now wait a minute here, this project takes $20 million of new public infrastructure. We build a road called Whit Ranch, we build a sewer line, we build water, we build drainage, we build all of the roads out in that area. $20 million in new investment by the private sector in roads, water, sewer, drainage in the city of Terrell. How do we get that done? As you've seen before with different development agreements that we've done, we have a partnership. In this particular case, the developer has asked if we would participate in the sewer line. Well, we need the developer to build the sewer line. However, we're willing to step up and do the land acquisition. We're willing to share the cost of upsizing it. One of the problems we've got out in this area, as many of you know, is there's a lift station that provides for actually pumping the sewer out of the Town North area. That's a maintenance difficulty for us, and from time to time it can be a smell headache for us, for the residents out in that area. This allows a private sector party to spend money building a new city sewer in that area, and that allows us to disconnect that wastewater lift station and make an improvement for the existing residents out in that area. One of the things that I'm most excited about here is that it answers a question about how are we really going to connect State Highway 34 with State Highway 205 for the long-term good of traffic on US 80, traffic moving through Walnut and State and through the middle part of our city. How are we going to get people who want to travel from State Highway 205 to State Highway 34 out of the middle of downtown Terrell? And part of the answer to that question is a road called Whit Ranch Parkway. Whit Ranch Parkway is on your thoroughfare plan. It was approved when we approved our comprehensive plan several years ago. And that new roadway runs from north of Griffith on State Highway 205, comes across the northern part of the city, and hooks into State Highway 34 where North Francis is. And so one of the things happening here is this developer is building a new intersection of North Francis and Whit Ranch Parkway, which will enable the first leg of that roadway system on the north side of town to get constructed. That's a tremendous traffic relief effort for the city of Terrell, and I think a very substantial and very meaningful improvement. So the way we've constructed this is that we will ask for council to approve the development agreement as part of Resolution 990. But that's not the end of things, that we'll take a city council vote. In the future, after the engineering on this project is completed, after the engineering on the wastewater line is completed, we'll actually do a vote on purchasing some land for the sewer line, the easement for the sewer line. And then, of course, when the engineering on the entire project gets done, you'll see what's called a construction plat move forward. In fact, we'll probably do a phased construction of this development, and you'll see a series of construction plats come forward for individual approval. So I know that there are residents nearby who've raised their hand and said, well, wait a minute, we like the development, we like the idea, but what happens with drainage coming off? What happens with those roadway impacts coming off? Can you really build it in a way where the drainage waters don't wash my yard out? And the answer to that is, that will be a requirement because that's in our current subdivision ordinances. You'll have to prove to the city engineer that you've designed something that is safe and something that will prevent stormwater from getting onto other people's land. So there's a lot of steps forward after tonight, but tonight's an important part of that process. So that's a little intro. I want to just direct you to the back of the agreement, because that's where you'll find actually Resolution 990. So Resolution 990 is an agenda item at page 123. So on agenda item 123, you can see I won't read the whereas to you, but we start in on section 1, and we talk about they have to meet the requirements of their zoning ordinance. Section 2 talks about the authorization of a reimbursement to the company North Francis 240 LLC from some of the estate lot zone. So we mentioned earlier, we're building 78 estate lots here. There's a period of 10 years that they will be able to receive the property taxes back for that to help pay back again those public infrastructure costs of $20 million. Then there's another provision in Section 3 here that provides for 3 years of property taxes back from the garden home zone. So that, again, is a 45% return, and that portion of those incremental return is, again, helping pay back those public infrastructure costs. Section 4 talks about an incentive for the creation of the estate lot homes. Section 5 sort of writes up the right-of-way acquisition. So when you vote on this resolution, not only are you saying, yes, this is a good development agreement, but you're also instructing me as your city manager to go out and start working on the acquisition of rights-of-way and easements necessary for whatever we might find here, and there's a little list there. And of course, it just focuses on building that off-site sanitary sewer, but we also make sure that if we maybe need some rights-of-way or some easements for anything related to any of the sidewalk improvements that are off-site, of which there are several, we are included that here in Section 5 as well. Section 6 talks about the development costs in terms of impact fees and development fees. As you know, we normally credit those whenever you're building portions of public infrastructure, so there's some math associated with that in there, but they net out on the garden home zone of actually paying $2,821 in fees per garden home. So $2,821 in fees paid in that garden home zone area. Next, Section 7 is related to an item that we need to take care of related to the annexation. It provides 5 years of rebate of property taxes for the existing homeowners in that area. That was part of our negotiations as well, and we wanted to make sure that we codified that here in our resolution format. Section 8 then refers to a set-aside of the new property taxes so that not the developer, but the city can actually have a fund to deal with any additional things that might need to happen out in that area. So improvements to Arley White Park, improvements to Creekside, improvements to Whitten Ranch Parkway, North Francis, reimbursements to the water fund and the sewer fund are included there as well. And as you've seen us do before with our other development agreements, basically we bring these to you when we feel like they're 99% there, but we always do include the provision authorizing me as city manager to finalize the negotiations, essentially any crossing of the Ts and dotting the Is necessary. I do that work. And then Section 10, you're authorizing the mayor to execute this development agreement consistent with this resolution. So there's a lot there. We've been talking about it off and on for a year. You've seen it in a couple of parts and approved a couple of parts of it, but this is a very important step. This is a step that says to the developer, go ahead and plan on spending $20 million to build roads, water, sewer, drainage in the city of Terrell and get us kicked off with a residential development that we feel will be a good quality residential development for the city of Terrell. So that's my presentation, Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the Resolution 990.
Well, I just simply like to say, one of the things that I was always concerned about for a long time is Terrell's diversity, when it comes to housing. And when I travel to small cities and other places that don't grow, the reason they don't grow because there's nothing of value. No one's building anything. I heard all the comments, well, we'll wait till they come. we'll wait till they arrive, and then we'll see what they like and we build it. It doesn't work that way. We have to make Terrell a place where people want to come. We have to do that. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be right in the eyesight of everybody. But I see this as the right thing to do. When you look at the growth that we're going to have in the Dallas Metroplex, I think with 1.3 million people, I believe, over the next 10 years, I think that's the correct number. Well, I read a part that talked about millennials and their preferences and what they want. A lot of them are wanting to stay in the rural areas. I'm talking about professional, high-tech people who's going to bring a lot of flavor and diversity to Terrell. We can no longer, and I want everybody to hear this, I want our citizens to hear this, we can no longer live on the memories of the past. We got to live with having a vision for a better future. The reason that I love serving on the council, because every day I'm living in the future. Maybe it's hard for people to understand that, but it's the most satisfying thing that I have with serving our city, being on the city council, that every day I get to talk to the Mike Sims of the world. I get to talk to the Ricky Camones of the world and live in the future every single day. That's how Amazons are built. That's how Microsofts are built. They're living in the future. If we continue to live in the past and think about how it used to be, Terrell can never go nowhere. And I think this is one of these projects that is really going to put us on the map and move us into a brighter future.
Councilman Simpson, I'm also going to read something into the record, and it might be a little less optimistic than yours.
Sure.
So this project, city staff has been working on it a long time, so I should say, hey, thank you to city staff, the landowner, the developer. I know that this has been at least a year in the making. So, and while this development would increase housing stock in Terrell, I'm stating that this development as presented does not fully address my traffic concerns for the area. And as a representative from District 5, I'm also stating there are worries that this development, mainly of minimum square footage garden homes, is purely a license for hundreds of leased home units. I do not find this promotes home ownership, and in my opinion, home ownership is what allows a community to properly vest itself. Let it be known, I think this project is just a license to grant a large footprint apartment complex on 240 acres. There's going to be 600 homes out there, and I cannot say how disappointed I am if most of them go the way of leased or rental units. I do not think this promotes home ownership, and anyways, I just wanted to read that into the record. My vote will be in the negative because a no vote for me is better than an uncomfortable yes, and that's it. And if it does pass, I do wish it success, but I am worried about what is presented today.
Mayor, Deputy Pro Tem, I do understand your concerns. I just look at this situation as, you got a LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Those guys only come along every 20, 30 years. I think this is what this deal is to me. It's like that. I mean, I don't know if we would ever get another opportunity like this. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not perfect, and I understand your concern.
Right. It is not perfect, and I hate that it's on our desk today because I wish it were just had a little bit more time to marinate, but I understand it's time is up on this thing.
Yes, sir.
So, let me just address a couple of things, if I can. If we're ever gonna go in that area in District 4, we do not currently have the sewer capacity for any additional home with that thought. So, in order to move forward, we're gonna have to, bite this bullet, and we're gonna address two needs. One is the sewer capacity that's needed in District 4 for potential growth, future growth, and also the road improvements that will be made in District 4 so that we have improved roadways in the area and in the city. I agree with, Mr. Royce that it's not the perfect deal, but there's not gonna be a perfect deal, that comes before the city. It's a give and take. I know Mike has worked very hard on this thing. Staff has worked hard on this thing. I've given input on it, and, it's been 12 months, so we need to move and, see what happens.
Just for clarity, what is our roadway plan for east-west? So right now, we have Town North, which is our east-west mover. When do we get another east-west connection? I do not know how that side of town manages with an additional 600 homes to flow through Town North. I'm surprised there's not more Town North residents here. It's probably because they just don't know. What's our road plan?
I'll refer back to our thoroughfare plan. On our thoroughfare plan, one of the main priorities, I'll just kind of go from south to north in this zone. First step is we actually have an existing development agreement in place with our 9th Street partnership, in which we are trying to build out through a series of steps the Creekside connection. So I think one of the most important steps that we're going to have to get done over the next few years is to build Creekside from the current cul-de-sac next to Long Elementary and bring it over to Poetry Road. I think that's a very important step. We included funds in our 9th Street Partnership Agreement. That's the History Maker area, enabling us to get that done. We do use money from this project to augment that so that we can get those connections made over in that area. So one thing I think, Councilman, is it's very important to get Creekside constructed from its existing cul-de-sac over to Poetry Road. The next step in that conversation is to say, you have to remember that Town North really shouldn't be, in the long term, the way you go across the city. We discussed this at length when we adopted our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does not focus on using Town North as the throughway between one side of town and the other side of town. Of course, it sort of de facto operates like that right now because it's the only road that does the job. That's the importance of Whit Ranch Parkway in the long term. I know it seems like you gotta endure a little short-term pain to get a long-term gain here, but one of the things happening in this development agreement is not only does the developer construct quite a bit of Whit Ranch Parkway going across their own land, it also sets up a fund at the city of Terrell so that we can save up money from the property taxes of these homes in order to build extensions to Whit Ranch Parkway. You give yourself, we talked at length at a previous meeting about the idea that the fund we set up for ourselves here enables us to collect money and then use those monies for a flexible number of things. One of the things that a future city council will be able to do is to look at the fund as those property tax revenues come in and make a decision about what's the next most important thing to build. A future council could look at that fund and say, okay, we see these houses being built out at this time, and we want to then use that money to extend Whit Ranch Parkway over to Poetry Road. So you have a traffic relief option built in. I also remind the council that we actually did require a traffic impact analysis for this project. The traffic impact analysis for the project looked at the amount of capacity that we have in this area and basically only gave us a small number of recommendations. It gave us a recommendation to make improvements at the corner of North Francis and North Virginia. We showed those to the developer. We said, okay, developer, that's going to be your responsibility. And early on in their construction of the phases of this project, they'll need to make a capacity improvement and a safety improvement at the corner of North Virginia and North Francis. Later on, it is warranted to get a traffic signal at the corner of what's currently North Francis and State Highway 34. Of course, as we start building this project, that'll change names into the corner of Whit Ranch Parkway and State Highway 34. But there's also a funding mechanism for the traffic light at the corner of, again, current North Francis and State Highway 34. So those are the bits and pieces of it. I know that near-term traffic is a concern. I think the biggest traffic concern I have in the near term is the traffic going in and out of the Creekside cul-de-sac. And I'll tell you that there's an automatic barometer on that, because no matter how many people move into this location for this as part of a schooling effort, there's only so much capacity at the school. So we're not going to overload Creekside because I can't overload the number of students going to Long Elementary anyway. So we think that this will be a manageable amount of traffic in the near term, and we think it's the solution for a very important long-term traffic problem, which is we just can't survive as a city 10, 15, 20 years down the line with Town North being our only east-west option. So I know that's not necessarily the message you wanted to hear. I know that there are near-term traffic constraints there, but that's kind of the long version of the answer to your question, sir.
Are any more comments or
So,
discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, to continue off of the question that Mr. Royce just asked, looking at the taxes coming in and the funding that will be available to build out Witt Road, and also the building of the continued extension of Creekside over to Poetry, what would you say our timeline in years would be based off of those taxes, the funding coming in?
Well, I guess first I'll have to answer with the uncertainty of the market. The proposal, if you recall, and I'll kind of glance over here at my phasing here to see if I say it correctly. Remember that Phase 1 on this project is 74 garden homes and 23 estate lots, okay? And then Phase 2 on this is an additional 106 garden homes, 44 townhomes, 15 3/4 acre lots, and 14 1.5 acre estate lots. So Phase 2 is a total of 179 units, and 29 of those are the estate lot version. And again, the first phase is a total of 107, of which 23 are the estate lots. So with those first two phases, it would be speculation for me to say how fast is the developer really going to be able to build those. So just take it one step at a time in answering the question here. Step one is I've got to imagine that there's at least a year's worth of engineering, construction planning to be done to really sort all of the engineering details out about it. I have a hard time imagining them getting a construction approval before somewhere in the 9 to 12 month range, even if they decide to just immediately launch forward very quickly. Then after that, what's the market absorption of this product going to be? And that's just a simple market question, right? If you want to assume that they're going to be able to fill 50 of these a year or fill 100 of these a year, it's going to take some pacing of time for them to fill that up. So remember, we've got a period of time of building phase out. We've got a period of time where we're doing a payback to them of their property value, and then we start collecting those monies on our side. Before opening day, they have to reconfigure the intersection of North Francis and Witt Ranch. Before opening day, they've got to do a fix-up at the corner of North Virginia and North Francis. And so those things happen early on in the project to improve traffic flow. Then after that, the point would be, well, how quickly are they going to develop? If they fully develop all 600 units in a 5-year time frame, then I would tell you that sections of Witt Ranch and sections of Creekside are going to be able to deliver, in the 6 to 10 year time period. If they move more slowly and they don't build all 600 houses for a 10 to 15 year time period, then it's going to be a longer delivery of those other roadway improvements.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't recall the developer or representative from the developer being at any of the council meetings where we've discussed this item, or do we have someone from the development present here today?
I think the only folks on the development side of it would be Mr. Roberts is their broker, and then the White brothers here are the current landowners.
Current landowners.
Yes, Mr. Whitaker.
I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing. I'm gonna do the fair thing. This project's gonna start in a year or so. I won't be on the council any longer. I do not think I ought to affect what the future council does. I don't know if this is gonna work out or not. My district has had some positives, and my district has been ignored also. I'm going to support this because, just for the future. Okay?
You know what, I certainly, the pros for this development, in my opinion, is diversity. Housing diversity, as a, only one of the many characteristics that define me, and it's certainly not the only thing that defines me, but as a young professional, and I don't see that we currently have the townhomes, the pool / trail facility, it's just something that we typically have to seek closer to the Dallas area, the Fort Worth area, and some of those suburbs. So I am looking forward to drawing in, or really having our own community members decide to stay here versus looking elsewhere for what we're lacking. So that certainly excites me. Having a partnership to build some of the infrastructure is also a pro. What I will say is and I'm gonna agree some here with Mr. Royce, is that we do want individuals to be both homeowners, and we also want individuals to be, if they're not looking to buy a home, that they have an option to lease a home. At different points of individuals and families' lives, they're not necessarily seeking for home ownership, but at some point, many are. And I certainly don't want Terrell to be the place where individuals come only to build housing for rentals and decide that they don't want to keep them up or pass them on to someone else who's not going to keep them up, looking at the long-term effects of housing and rentals. So I do hope that this is a partnership, if passed, that looks to continue to have not only the short-term improvements for our community, but that they're invested in housing and making sure that they're kept up and do provide the opportunity for home ownership for those that desire it.
Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor, if I may, I think maybe it's important for staff to kind of reorient on remembering what's up for vote today. What's up for vote today is not the zoning. The zoning was approved in June, and the question now is really the development agreement side of it. On the development agreement side of it, the question goes like this, and this is a number embedded in the development agreement, and if you want to follow along with me, it's on page 115. The question from a development agreement standpoint goes like this, and again, this doesn't need to be Mike's opinion, right? This needs to be council's opinion. But for reference on, where did this deal making get done? Remember the very first set of instructions that I received whenever we sat down with council and talked about where do you want to go with this idea? The request that council had of staff was, well, what we're interested in as a council is really getting the estate lot part of this thing done. And we talked about different strategies for doing that, the difficulty of doing that, because the comment was we really don't have an estate lot development in the city. So one part of housing diversity was, well, how do we get houses, new houses constructed in the city of Terrell that will go up for sale at $350,000 a pop? You know, how are we going to accomplish that? So a lot of the work that staff has put into this, and again, this is y'all's vote, not mine, but a lot of the work that staff put into this was on the question of how do we entice the builder to spend $6.6 million on the infrastructure necessary for the estate lots, okay? So if you take a look at agenda item page 115, you see there's a little analysis there that says that the estate lots, 77 lots, cost $6.6 million in public infrastructure, water, sewer, drainage, all that good stuff. Then, if you kind of do the math on this spreadsheet in there, you'll see that the 548 garden lots, and part of that's garden homes, part of that's townhouses, they cost $13.7 million in public infrastructure. So here's a developer saying, okay, think about the different bang for the buck there. For the $13.7 million in public infrastructure necessary to pull off 548 garden homes, that's a very different level of return for that developer. So the incentive here isn't associated with getting the garden homes to get built. The incentive here is getting the estate lots to get built, okay? Because that's where the gap analysis is. If we go through, you know, your standard issue theory of how do you negotiate development agreements, what we're looking for as staff is where's the gap necessary to get the private sector to do what the public sector goal is. If the public sector goal here is that we don't have estate lots, single-family residential, available for purchase for people who are looking for a higher-end product, if we don't have that available in this city of Terrell, how do I induce somebody to spend $6.6 million and only get to build 77 houses? That's a tough sell. And frankly, that's what the negotiations here have been about. They've been about, okay, if we give you zoning approval for X, Y, Z, what's it going to take to get you to make these investments? Right now, we're sitting on an investment where somebody's willing to build $6.6 million of public infrastructure to deliver 77 estate lots. Good, bad, indifferent, or whatever council's opinion may be, you know, that's where we come back around to say, you know, it's probably as good a deal as it's going to get. And now we're just on the council discretionary point from a policy point of view. Whatever the diverse group of reasons that any one of you may have for being for it or being against it, the voting item tonight is the incentive side of it. And what level of incentive do we need to provide to pull off the deal as a whole, which includes them spending $6.6 million on public infrastructure for only 77 estate lots. And that's been part of the discussion here. I just want to kind of highlight that because that's where we started. We started with staff go out and figure out a way to get estate lots built. And that's the mix of where we ended up on this thing. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you vote one way or another. You know, we put our work into it. We're giving you the best product we can here. And as the mayor said, there's no such thing as perfect. So it's just an opportunity to make a decision.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sims. Any more comments at this time? Okay, so may I get a motion on resolution 990?
Is that, 990 your question?
That's correct, resolution 990. I'll get a motion.
Well, the mayor will make the motion that we move forward with resolution number 990.
Okay, with the mayor making a motion, can we get a second?
Authorizing a development agreement with North Francis 230 LLC for the North Francis Development Partnership.
Okay, said by the mayor. Can we get a second?
Do we still have Mr. Whitaker on the line?
Mr. Wood?
I'm here.
Okay, I was just checking, just for clarity.
Can we get a second motion? Give me a second, please.
What do you think of that or something?
Well, I don't know. I can't see you,
Mayor, I'll make I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Nay.
One.
Grady Simpson, how did you vote?
Grady.
Grady, how was your vote?
Oh, yeah, yes. Absolutely.
4 yeas and 1 nay.
Okay, moving forward, Mayor, we're going to move into item number 9.2, and that's to discuss and consider a construction plan for Oak Valley CP 20-04, 170 new residential lots in the city of Oak Ridge and the city of Terrell, ETJ, Kaufman County, Texas. A phased development consisting of 231,006 acres, resubmitting the change road to access easements. And that would be Mr. Charles Bennett.
Mayor, Council, I can make this one really fast. We'd like to pull this off for the next meeting. We are needing to make some changes, but we talked with the developer today. There's some other issues that we need to deal with too, and this is a little complicated because this plat is actually lining the city of Oak Ridge. It's, if you remember, we did an exchange of boundary lines and so forth, and you actually approved a plat before and then actually a final plat off Admiral Road. However, we would like to move it on to the next meeting, and then we'll explain it to you there. So a motion to table would be recommended.
Okay, motion to table to the next meeting. Okay, moving on to.
Hey, Grady, I'm going to move that we table this agenda item to the next available meeting.
Can I get a second?
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 9.3, discuss and consider construction plat for CP 20-05. What was that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. States 32 residential lots being 41.473 acres out of the J.C. Howe survey. Abstract number 202, City of Terrell, ETJ, Kaufman County, Texas. Resubmitting a change road to access easements. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor, Pro Tem, Council. This one we are going to go through. This plat was approved. It was 32 lots on 41 acres out in the county on the ETJ by the P&Z on July 23rd, and then on August 18th. However, we have on these plats, normally when we bring them through, when they build roads or they're going to build public improvements, the roads, they're going to dedicate right-of-way. That's what it is. They require to dedicate a 50-foot right-of-way or 60-foot right-of-way, and then if there's thoroughfare on the perimeters, they dedicate more. We have established an interlocal with the county, and it's somewhat unique I'll have to say, in my opinion, for the state of Texas, but it is different than all development with interlocals in the state of Texas as to how we dedicate our roads. But our interlocal with the county states that the city shall only plat private roads and their access easements and shall take no action to create any city or county road within its ETJ. Kaufman County shall, at its expense, continue to maintain roads within the Terrell's ETJ. They have been accepted by the Commissioners Court into Kaufman County's road maintenance system unless otherwise provided by the agreement. Therefore, we're basically bringing this plat back and saying we need to change the right-of-way that was dedicated by this plat into access easement per the interlocal agreement with Kaufman County.
Any discussions? Okay, may we get a motion for item 9.3?
Grady, make a motion that we approve item 9.3 as presented.
Can we get a second?
Mayor Pro Tem, my second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Yeah, Mr. Whitaker voted.
Where is
We're belated, but he voted.
hanging out on delay?
All right, moving to item 9.4, we're going to discuss and consider ordinance number 2846 on second reading. An ordinance of the City of Terrell, Texas approving and adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021. Providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, appropriating and setting aside the necessary funds out of the general fund and other fund revenues for said fiscal year for the maintenance and operation of the various departments and various activities and improvements of the city, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Simmons.
So, Mayor and Council, we don't often bring things that are on second reading to you for putting them on regular business again, but I just felt like there were clarifications that I wanted to make related to the budget document. The first one is that we are going to be referencing here, and I want to be very specific about this when you guys make the motion, that it's the ordinance as it appears on agenda item page 152. We did accidentally get two copies of the budget ordinance in here. One's the old one and one's the correct one, and the one that is correct shows up on agenda item page 152, which sees a total spending for the city of Terrell is $63,695,000 or $695,580. So a little clarification there about making sure that we're referencing the right ordinance to approve. The other couple little changes that we made as we looked at it between first reading and second reading was that we went into that public-private partnership fund and we really vetted those numbers out again against the numbers we received late-breaking news in from the county with our power center and our tax increment finance district. So it was necessary to crank through a couple of little changes in that area. Those are all technical in nature, but we did make those changes between first reading and second reading. Also, we had a big conversation here at the city about making sure that we really do a better job in the coming year with utility cut repairs. And I know that seems like an arcane little item, but we did want to make it fixed. It is something that our citizens will notice and will complain about from time to time. You'll think of this in terms of, since I see Tim Royce immediately shaking his head, let's say just as a for example, that you're driving down Lovers and you notice that Lovers has a utility cut on it and you think to yourself, well, by golly, hadn't it been a really long time that there was a utility cut out here on Lovers, and what are we going to do about that, and are we going to be able to get this thing fixed in a timely manner? We didn't feel like we were addressing utility cuts correctly. I did take some money out of the utility capital fund, utility capital reserve fund. We inserted it in the budget as a transfer over to the capital improvement fund so that Glenn Caldwell and his team would have a source of funds to charge from to really make those utility cut repairs in a much, much more efficient manner. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. I think that was the right thing to do as a little technical change to the budget. But again, I wanted to highlight that to you because we did decide to make that change between first reading and second reading. And just going back to trying to be attentive to things we hear from our citizens, things we hear from our city council, and finding a customer service solution to my problem with utility cut repairs, we felt like was important enough to go ahead and make that change between first reading and second reading.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sims. Are there any other discussions? Okay, Secretary Don Stout, we want to get you the poll council. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, the motion I'm hoping for, I hate to be specific, but I'm going to be in this case. The motion should be to approve ordinance number 2846 as appearing on agenda item page 152. because we did double publish that, and I want to make sure we're clear. We're talking about the version of the ordinance as shown on agenda item page 152.
That's where the motion should be.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, may I get a motion? Ordinance 2846.
So we need more than a so moved.
Right. To a confusion.
You know,
Would you like for me to,
huh,
would you like for me to table it?
yes.
Don't feel bad, Ms. Royce.
Okay.
Normally I have them, but this one is longer.
You're just voting to approve ordinance number 2846 as shown on page 152
On second reading.
on second reading.
Okay. Mr. Simpson, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2846 on second reading as presented,
As shown.
on 152. That's it. Good.
Right, we had a motion by Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, Tim Royce. Can we get a second?
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
All right, Councilwoman, Velasquez, give a second. All in favor? Oh, excuse me, poll,
Yes.
opposed of council. Budget.
District 2, Grady Simpson, how do you vote?
Yea?
District 3, Melanie Velasquez, how do you vote?
Nay.
District 4, Charles Whitaker, how do you vote?
Aye.
District 5, Tim Royce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Rick Carmona, how do you vote?
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Moving forward to item 9.5, and that's to discuss and consider ordinance number 2848 on first reading, and also City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, repealing and replacing section 9-1 through 9-11 of chapter 9. Personnel, City of Terrell Code of Ordinances, providing for severability and the effective date of finding and determining that the meeting within the ordinance was considered, was open to the public as provided by law. Mr. Greg Shaw.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, this is ordinance number 2848. Basically, this was something that was undertaken with myself and Ms. Holland, who basically tried to update the personnel sections and to simplify things. We feel like that it was a good exercise all the way around. I believe this was discussed in one of our earlier workshops. It basically sets out all of the various departments and so forth, but references back to the council and the budget for specifics. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on it. Okay. Need a motion?
All right, without no further discussions, may we get a motion on ordinance 2848?
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2848 as presented on first reading.
All right, Councilwoman Velasquez made the motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, second, got Mayor Deputy Pro Tem Royce. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, moving forward to 9.6, item 9.6, discuss and consider ordinance number 2847, ordinance of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, repealing ordinance number 2745 and replacing Chapter 10, Subdivision Article 4, Public Sites and Open Spaces, Section 4, Parkland and Public Facility Dedication by providing for parkland dedication and cash payment, or in the alternative, providing for a cash payment in lieu of parkland dedication as a condition to the residential subdivision plat approval, establishing a special fund for the land dedication, providing for servability, providing ability, and providing effective date. Mr. Sims, you got Mr. Sims?
Yeah, I'm going to start us off. So, Mayor and Council, there's really two parts to this, and today is part one, and October is part two. So, part one is that we currently have a $600 fee for park facilities and a $600 fee for park land dedication. So when a developer comes in, if they're not developing a park, or if they're not providing land for a park, they end up paying $600 plus $600 for a total of $1,200 to pay their park fees. This basically is a product of your park board, where they took a look at those numbers and said, you know, to stay in line with the Metroplex and also to stay in line with the needs of our parks, it was a good idea to increase that $600 to $800. So the net here is that we're increasing by just a little bit on the park land dedication and the park facility dedication, bringing it up to a total of $1,600, and we feel like that's a good step forward. I believe Carnell can report to you that it was unanimous at the park board.
Yes, sir, that was correct.
Okay. And the second part, of course, is the question that Councilwoman Velasquez brought up, I think a meeting or two ago, which is, now wait a minute here, what about the map that shows the division of where all of this goes? Mr. Shumpert has written this up, I think, quite wisely for us, where this ordinance that you pass says you're going to pass a resolution from time to time establishing the boundary line zones. That allows you to adjust those boundaries a little bit more often. It allows you to address the boundaries separately from the fees, which I think is a really great flexible way to do it. Your park board over the next month or so will be looking at a staff recommendation on the boundary lines for the zones. I will tell you the direction they're generally going is to divide the city down the middle, east to west, have about 3 on the east side and have about 3 on the west side, but that's not tonight's vote. You're going to wait for the park board to chew on that a little bit more. Tonight's vote is really here with your budget, because tonight's vote is really just the dollar amount associated with the fees, moving it from $600 per to $800 per. And so Carnell's here to answer questions, and hopefully between Carnell and I, we equal one Glenn Caldwell.
Carnell, and certainly thank you to staff for moving forward on this. If I remember correctly from my park board days, talking about different buckets of money here, right? If a developer comes in, and there's not a park that they're building, facility that they're building within their development, then they will be charged $800 per home that will go into this bucket that we're considering today. For what about, is there an opportunity, whether it's through this item that we're looking today, or maybe a future item, where fees can assist with the, maintenance of existing or future parks?
I don't have a state law way to charge a new developer coming in a fee for maintenance. The state law opportunity here is to charge for new improvements associated with new growth. This is kind of akin to your impact fee program for water and sewer. It's designed under state law to be an impact fee for new facilities from new residents. And so there's a lot of negotiating oomph this gives us. I'll use the example of the apartment complex down close to Ross and Hobby Lobby. They paid us, based on kind of negotiations associated with this fee, they paid us the $700,000, which we will soon be using to build the park down in that area. So sometimes it's a negotiating tool, sometimes it forces them to do something on site, sometimes it is just something they say, you know what, we don't really have the land to solve any of this problem, we're going to just cash it out and write that into the park dedication fund. So it's handled a variety of different ways, and I would say that as we're doing our deferred park maintenance updates this year, one of the things I've tasked Glenn and Carnell with is to make sure that they're attentive to the idea that we want to zero out all of our existing money in the Parkland Dedication Fund right now. We've got 10,000 in some parks, 30,000 in other parks that we've collected over the years, and as we do our deferred park maintenance and put some new stuff in, and we put new shade equipment, and we put new pavilion and that sort of thing at the parks over the course of the next 6 months or so, Carnell and Glenn will be zeroing out that park dedication fund for that purpose.
And that's where I wanted to make sure I have an understanding, because we can use, as you just mentioned, Mike, those dollar amounts from the past park dedication fees, to do more of the bigger ticket items, the shading, a playground. Maybe it can't be used for paint.
Right,
It can be
exactly, and
used
I guess
for-
maybe a good example is the playground that's next to the baseball field. Recently had a couple of upgrades where we attached a new slide, if I remember correctly, we painted it, we put new fall protection in below it. None of
Yes,
that,
yes,
that's
yes.
all maintenance, none of that's eligible for park dedication fund. However, putting a new shade structure on top of that, that is eligible for park dedication, and so it's really just fund management that we do here behind the scenes.
Thank you.
So I'm glad this came forward. I mean, it's kind of been a long time coming, so we've talked about it for years, and so this does nothing but help move the parks forward.
All right, any further discussion? All right, can we get a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2847 as presented.
All right, Councilman Melanie Vasquez, make the motion, can we get a second?
Second.
All right, second, with Councilman Charles Whitaker. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, moving forward to item 9.7, discuss and consider the fiscal policy, and that will be city manager Mike.
Mayor and Council, we approve our financial policy annually to put it forward in front of City Council and really also in front of city staff as a reminder of, hey, these are the financial rules we have. We have to always be mindful of obeying them. I've had this on, I think, 3 different workshop opportunities to give everybody a chance to review it, look at it, talk about it. Again, last year, we made probably 3 different updates to it related to some travel issues and some spending issues, and those have served us well this year, so we recommended no changes this particular year in our financial policy. As we go through the course of FY20, I can tell you it really did serve us well. We incorporated your new investment policy last year, if you recall that. That's netted us over $100,000 in interest over the course of this year. So I think we did a good update last year, and staff recommendation is to leave it in place and readopt it unchanged for our coming year.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sims. Is there any further discussion? Item 9.7. All right, okay. May I get a motion for item 9.7?
Mr. Simpson, I make a motion to approve 9.7 as presented.
All right, now get the pro tem, Tim Royce, made the motion. Can I get a second?
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
All right, Councilwoman Randy Velasquez, second. Now, is all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to consent agenda. At this point, I believe we're just going to get a motion for consent agenda. May I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Mr. Simpson, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right. Mayor Deputy Pro Tem Royce, have a motion, so can we get a second?
I second.
All right, Randy Vasquez makes, Councilwoman Randy Vasquez makes a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, aye, motion carries. All right, so, we'll be adjourning into executive session?
No, sir.
No,
Meeting
executive session, we adjourn. That's what, old mayor like to do, he used to love to say adjourn.
DJ would. He was like auctioning cattle every single gas.
Well, you remember we gave him the meat tenderizer when he retired.